Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Welcome, a big hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are so thrilled to have you here at USA Global TV and Radio. We provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our show, Authentic Achievements. And our topic today is how to use your time and find peace and freedom when you're wearing a million hats and juggling a zillion things. Let's welcome the creator of Authentic Achievements. She also has her own platform there in London, and she is helping people all around the world. She's also an international best-selling author. Her name is Kim Adele Randall. Let's welcome her to the program. Hello.
Hi, Dr. Jacqueline. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you? We're like twins, sort of.
It's like we got a memo, didn't we? We're wearing black and putting red lipstick on. I'm just glad I read it in time.
And we both have our hair down, which isn't always the case either.
No, clearly the universe was conspiring to connect us today.
Absolutely. By the way, Kim Adele, I've been reading in the paper that there's some horrific weather over there. Are you experiencing that?
To be fair, we've been really lucky where I am, but there's been horrendous weather that has really, really debilitated quite a lot of people. I mean, in the UK, we're not good with any extreme weather, any form of extreme weather, and kind of our infrastructure starts to struggle quite severely. So I've got friends who got stuck, have ended up having to do long taxi journeys to try and get home and things. But I guess as British people, we do love to complain about the weather.
I've noticed that, we have a number of people from the UK who are on this platform, and they talk a lot about the weather. And I was like, I guess that's kind of a thing. But I did happen to read that there was a lot of bad weather. So I'm glad that you're okay. That's good news.
Thank you.
And by the way, to all of your accomplishments and achievements, I want to just change this banner and add singer, because you were singing backstage. You have a beautiful voice. And I'm thinking that maybe your voice helps you get through some times that are stressful. Is that true?
I mean, it's not true that I'm a beautiful singer, but thank you. You were very kind. I do love to sing. I don't sing in front of other people because I care about people far too much to make them suffer that. But my little girl loves my singing voice, and it is a standing joke with my friends if they turn up at bedtime. Scarlett has 3 songs before she goes to bed, and if they turn up, I have to take her downstairs and go, I'm really sorry, just turn the TV up for the next 10 minutes and pour yourself a glass of wine. It will get you through, while I sing her 3 songs.
That's so funny, because I think you have a beautiful voice.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
I really do, saying that in all seriousness. So let's get a little bit into what is Authentic Achievements. And you have your own platform. And tell us, what did you hope to accomplish by setting up Authentic Achievements, and where's it been going?
Oh, great question. So I set it up because I spent nearly 30 years trying to be a version of myself that wasn't who I was, and constantly berating myself for not having the right gravitas or not appearing to be what I expected of me, until I started asking other people how they viewed me and realized that my opinion of myself was very bizarre in comparison to everybody else's. And if I just let go of trying to control everything and showed up as who I am, that actually, 1, I'd be so much happier, and 2, I would actually be able to see the impact that I was having instead of having this disillusioned view of myself. And when I started to be exactly who I was, I realized that actually in my greatest moments in my life, that had been when I had been being exactly who I was. And so I wanted to open the platform to be able to share other people's stories of when they were able to just step into being who they were and realize that that's where they could have the biggest impact on others.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for bringing authentic achievements here on our platform as well. I think we're going into 2 years or more. I don't even know.
Yeah, I think we've just gone past 2, and I'm so grateful to have been part of your journey from pretty much the start. So thank you for having me in the first place, and keep bearing with me for such
No,
a long
thank
time.
you. It's an evolution. I love it. And I love how you come here and you provide so much education, hope, and inspiration. And I know we're going to have the same conversation types that we normally do today. So when we think about time and freedom, one thing that's been coming up for me on a regular basis lately, I started watching some reality TV, which I don't usually do, but I've been watching this show called Watched, and it's not a paid spokesperson, but it's about two plastic surgeons in Beverly Hills, and they take people who have had surgeries and they've gone wrong, and they fix them if they can. And in most cases, when I'm listening to these people, the patients, they're very sad before the first surgery. They don't like themselves. They don't like some physical aspect of themselves. And then in this quest, they get more and more and more surgery, not in every case, but sometimes even after the surgery and it's corrected, they still don't like themselves. And I feel like I'm guilty of that same type of thing. You've all these things to be grateful for, and you zone in on the one or two things. And I'm wondering, is it because we really like to torment ourselves that we don't really want to feel peaceful inside? Because if we did, what would that mean? I don't know. It's a contradiction.
I don't know. You're right. It is a contradiction, and I think we all have it. We all have those moments where we could look at all the things that we're grateful for and all the things that are positive, or we could look at all the things that aren't going the way we want them to yet. And where we focus is where our feelings will follow. So if we focus on something we don't like, we're never going to feel happy and joyous and accomplished. Whereas if we focus on the things that we're grateful for and we do accomplish, we feel better. And when we feel better, better things happen. But I remember years ago, people used to say, you need to hold the mirror up. If we're as a coach, we hold the mirror up for people. And I was like, well, that's always really interesting because, I've led lots of teams and lots of people. And I've learned over the years that when we hold the mirror up, some people have got a mirror and it's a magnifying mirror. I definitely was guilty of this for many years. So in that magnifying mirror, I can see every line, every wrinkle, every spot, every imperfection. And that would be where I focused all of my effort. Some people have just got a normal mirror, and therefore what they see back is what the rest of the world sees. And I've led a few people where, in their mirror, I'd be a size 8. I'd quite like their mirror because they've kind of viewed something entirely different and are in a space of not taking any accountability. And I wonder if it's down to kind of the way we're brought up societally is to strive for perfection, to constantly want to be perfect. We're surrounded by images of people's seemingly perfect lives, and we live in a despair and compare society. So we look at everybody else's seemingly perfect life and we compare it to the messy reality of our own life, where sometimes you burn the dinner or things don't go the way that you planned, and we find ourselves lacking. But the reality is all of us have mess and challenge within our lives. It's not the mistakes that define us, it's what we do with them. So I think a lot of it has got to be on how do we get comfortable in acknowledging the things in ourselves that are good as well as the things in ourselves that are bad. And I can't remember whose quote it is, and I must try and remember. But it was that it's not our darkness that we're frightened of. It's our light. It's the fact that we might actually be good at something. And that feels too egotistical, and we try and back away from that.
Absolutely. I agree with what you're saying. And to your last point, when we have something that we're really good at or something that really brings us joy, for me, for example, the books that I've published, this platform, but yet I say to myself, it's a shame that your waist is so wide. Like I go right to the waist, and I think it's a good thing you're not in a relationship with anyone, so they don't have to see your waist. Instead of going, hey, look at the great things that I did today, I go right to the waist. And I have 2 magnifying mirrors. I remember I went to the dermatologist a few years ago for an appointment, and he said, are you picking at your face? And I said, yeah, I've got 5 pairs of tweezers. I just started tweezing. And he said, no tweezing, no magnifying mirrors. I still have them. I think it's 20 times what you're supposed to see. Like I didn't go for 5 or 10, I went for 20. And I thought to myself, why doesn't he want me to be able to see what it is that's going on with me? Because I'm going to come into him and he's going to see it and he's going to do whatever. So anyway, where I'm going with this whole thing is I think part of the reason why we can't find peace and freedom is because of the time that we spend obsessing on things that are not perfect, instead of saying, okay, I'm not going to get 100% or even 90% across the board. Sometimes it's a 70%. Let's focus on where we're 90 and up.
It's true. And I think that kind of lends itself so beautifully to what we're talking about today, because that's one of the reasons why we find ourselves struggling with time, because we're trying to do everything. We're trying to juggle every hat and be good at them all. And the fact is we won't be good at all of them. And if we spend our time doing something we're not very good at and it doesn't bring us joy, not only will we not have delivered it to an amazing standard, but we'll be miserable in the process. Whereas actually, when we surround ourselves with the people that are good at the things we're bad at, and that we can help them by being good at the things that they're bad at, all of us grow as a result of that. And it doesn't matter that we weren't able to do it. It reminds me of the I think it was in the book Think and Grow Rich, where they talk about Henry Ford and the fact that he was called out by a Chicago paper as being an ignorant man, and they even took him to court to try and demonstrate he took them to court for slander, and they put him on the stand and they were trying to demonstrate to the audience that he was ignorant by asking him loads of very impertinent questions about how many people were sent to a war and how many came back. And he answered some of these questions, and in the end he got very frustrated with them and said, should I want to answer your impertinent questions? I could. Why would I? Because I have a box on my desk with all of these electric buttons, and I can press any one of those buttons and summon somebody into my office that can tell me anything I need to know. So why would I fill my head with all of this information that I don't need when I can summon somebody to me who can give me the information? And what became clear is that wasn't the answer of an uneducated, uncultured man. It was the answer of somebody who understands and is very intelligent. And I think that's part of it, is why do we think we've got to know everything? And instead, why don't we surround ourselves with knowing where to get the information from or how to get the service provided, and then utilize that?
That is brilliant. I have to applaud that. Absolutely. It reminds me, and you and I have discussed this before, but there was some kind of special in the brain, and they showed the man's brain, and it was like a compartment where you would put socks, in all the different places. And the woman's brain had all these wires going all over the place. And the man will draw from whatever compartment he needs to at the time, and everything else stays in the boxes where it was. So a question I have for you is, because we're talking about time and peace and freedom, and I'm wondering male and female energy. So when you think about what I just described about the male brain versus the female brain, I'm in my male energy a lot of time. And so I am pulling things from sock place, some of the places where socks would go. And I don't think I was always doing that, but by doing that, I feel like it saves me time because I know where I can find the information instead of being upset with myself that I can't remember everything. How can we remember every single thing?
It's true, we can't. So we set ourselves up for failure by giving ourselves these goals that are unachievable. Instead, if we can look at, okay, how can I create the right pathways to enable me to get to that information that we need it? I love the sock drawer analogy. I usually use mine as being the library of my brain. So in my head, my visual of my brain is like a big library, with those cards that you used to get at the front, and you like flick through to find out what aisle you need to go to. And that's how I visualize my brain working, is being able to kind of flick through those and then wander off and get the right book and bring me that information, and giving myself the freedom to take the couple of seconds that it does to go through that process. And since I was able to do that, it's become much easier to juggle some of those hats and to be able to, because I was told many years ago, don't bring your home life into work. What a ridiculous thing to say. You can't switch your brain off. Your brain comes with you wherever you go. So by telling yourself, I can't bring it in, what you do is make yourself think about it. So then actually, all you can ever do is think about it. Instead, when you just go, I'm going to be whoever I am, wherever I am, all of the time, what you can allow yourself to do is see that image come in, that thought come in, recognize it and go, yep, I do need to think about that. I'll do it later. And therefore, by acknowledging it, you allow it to go back into the bookshelf until you can come back and address it at a more appropriate time.
Yes. Yeah, I think that leads nicely into this next area, which again, we're talking about time, is when I have a conversation with someone, how are you doing, Kim Adele? I'm so busy. Oh, I'm exhausted. I'm so busy, 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 busy. And right away, I think to myself, what are you exactly trying to tell me? I don't know what it is you're trying to say. Why is it that we have to be so busy? And that's an award. I can't really talk right. I'm so busy. I have so many I have calls, I have this, I have that. Who cares? Everybody does. Doesn't everybody have things they have to do for the most part?
It's true, and yet we do, don't we? It's like, but I think it's a justification to ourselves. Now, the fact that we actually play it outward to whoever's asked us, what we're really wanting to do is hear for ourselves the excuse that we're really busy, because that allows us to be off the hook for any of the things that we really want to be doing or know we should be doing that we're not doing. So we kind of, the more we hear it, the more we convince ourselves of it. It's like, yeah, I'm really busy. It's like, okay, what are you busy doing? And what value is that adding to you or to somebody else? Because sometimes, and I was definitely guilty of this. I was busy all of the time. I didn't tell people I was busy. There's that old adage, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. I'd fill my time, and then I'd fill a bit more time with stuff, because then I could justify my existence to myself and go, if I did all of this stuff, brilliant, because I was busy. But it didn't necessarily add any value to me, and not always add value to other people. And I remember on one particular occasion, I inadvertently hugely offended somebody as a result of my desire to be busy to demonstrate that I was valuable. So we had to do this Excel spreadsheet. It's probably about 20 years ago now, and it was a really dull ask, really boring. Needed to be done. There was a necessity for it, but it wasn't going to be the most fun, and it wasn't that interesting. So I did it myself. And I remember one of my team coming to me and saying, did you not trust me to do it? And I was like, no, I'd never have meant for you to feel that. It was just such an awful ask, such a boring ask, that I didn't want to make you do it. And they said, right, but if it was a boring and an interesting ask, if you'd have given it to me, you'd have had more time, and you could have spent that time helping me do this instead. And I was like, I'd never thought of it that way. I'd inadvertently, in trying to be helpful and not pass on awful tasks to my team, I, one, had made them think I didn't trust them to do them. And two, I had wasted time doing something they could do instead of using that time to help them with something that they couldn't. And that for me was a really great opportunity to start to reframe internally. Every time I'm going to do this thing for myself, why am I doing it? And is there a better use of my time that will add more value to my team?
That sounds like a great growth opportunity for you.
It was. I really offended her. I was mortified. And I mean, we're talking, it was nearly 20 years ago. I still remember how that feels. And that has really helped me hone in on that, asking that question, because I can feel how awful I felt. I can feel how upset I made her feel. And that makes me go, like, if you don't answer this question properly, you could inadvertently have that impact again. And I don't want to have that impact again. So it's helped me look at those parts and go, yes, sometimes we will all have to do things we don't want to do. We all have to do things that don't bring us joy and that might not necessarily be the biggest value add we're ever going to have. We do get to do that, but we don't get to use that as an excuse to do it all of the time and to stop doing the things where we actually add the most value to the people around us.
Speaking of adding value, there's 24 hours in the day, as far as I know, across the world. What are you doing during the day that you would not ever say, oh, I'm busy? So, for example, if you're with Scarlett and you recount the rest of your day to someone, you're not going to go, oh, I was so busy. I don't think. I'm not going to say, oh, I was so busy while I'm doing this platform, because I actually enjoy doing this. You enjoy being with your daughter. Of course, obviously not on the same level. One's business, one's personal. But I feel like the I'm busy is an excuse, like you had said, because you're maybe you didn't contact someone, maybe you didn't do something you're supposed to do. I'm so busy. That's why I didn't get to do it. What other things can you think of in 24 hours of a day that you're filling up time, but it's time that you're actually happy that you're spending?
Oh, it's so true, because you're right. When I spend time with Scarlett, I'm never busy spending time with Scarlett. I'm present and enjoying it and learning stuff. And I think for me, other things that I fill my time with is taking Pudding for a walk, or I love every day I read a book for at least half an hour. I wouldn't say I'm busy doing that. I love reading. I love learning stuff. I love reading stuff, because I always learn more stuff when I go back and go, how did I not see that the first time around? I love listening to music. I love being out in nature. All of those are things I fill my time with. Or one of my absolute favorites is cooking. So cooking is one of those things that I do as a real opportunity to unwind and relax. It used to be a standing joke in organizations that I've worked for, that whenever we were going through really horrific times of crisis or running big restructures or anything where you'd normally get really busy, I would go and start baking things, or so I'd come back in the next day with brownies or a French lemon tart or something. And they're like, how did you find the time? And I was like, because I had to do lots of thinking, and actually thinking while I'm doing something that brings me joy is always much more productive for me personally than just going, well, I'm going to be busy now thinking about this problem. Because I find myself then stuck in the problem and not in the solution. So again, I guess it's diverting my brain are times that bring me real joy.
I love that. And you're smiling as you're talking about it. So I really did see and feel the joy. Absolutely. So one thing that I want to talk a little bit more about is this juggling of all these things that we have to do and the wearing of so many hats. And my question for you is, and obviously this is an individual thing, case by case basis, but I would think there's some commonality across the board. That being said, that's a disclaimer, so we can't say it's true for everyone. But how many times, or a percentage, or how often are the things that we have on our plate things that we either volunteered to do without wanting to do them, we felt pressure, or we just couldn't say no or not now, and so we begrudgingly take it on, and we're so busy doing these things that we don't even want to do?
I think often we are victim of saying yes to these things, and then we add them to our bundle. But I think then there is also things that we assume are expected of us, and therefore we hold ourselves accountable to those. And when we're not able to fit them in, we use them as a stick to beat ourselves with. So as a girl, I'm constantly thinking, well, I'm somebody's mother, I'm somebody's daughter, I'm somebody's sister, I'm somebody's friend, I'm somebody's colleague, I'm somebody's client, I'm somebody's business partner, I'm somebody's business provider. You have all of these things. I sit on the odd board, and you're like, at any one point I could feel like I was failing at one or more of those, because you're kind of there going, well, how do I fit all of those in, and how do I make them work? So I spent many years where I would go, I just feel like a really bad parent because I wasn't able to attend that one event, or I feel like a really bad partner because actually I was working late, or I feel like a really bad leader because I wasn't able to get to this part. I feel like and I found myself constantly in this space of, I feel really bad because I'm not doing all of these things, until you mapped it out and went, how many hours are there in a day? And what would be achievable? You can't be 100% perfect, all of those things. So instead, can you look at what are the areas where you can add the most value in each of those roles, and then appreciate yourself for taking that action, for doing that. And again, right now, I'm going to be really present in the time that I spend with Scarlett, and I'm not going to feel like because I'm focusing on her, I'm being a bad parent, being a bad daughter, I'm being a bad sister, I'm being a bad friend, I'm being a bad colleague. I'm just being present in that moment. And I can't do it always, but actually, if instead I spend my time thinking about all the things I could have been doing instead, I end up not being present anywhere, and therefore everybody loses out.
And then when you feel that way, it's sort of overwhelming. And again, it's another opportunity to step back and learn. So when I think about freedom, obviously freedom has a lot of different definitions, and that's part of the title that we have today. When we are feeling competent and we're feeling confident with the decisions that we make, that in and of itself can be freedom, can it?
Yeah. I think for me, freedom is, it's so hard, and you're right, it means something different for everybody. Freedom for me, it means that I feel confident, I feel I've got clarity, and I feel in control. And that doesn't mean I've got to control everything, but what I mean is I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't feel like I don't know what to do next. So in those moments for me where I've got freedom, I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel like I know what I'm doing next. I'm confident that I can do it, and I'm capable of doing it. And that allows me then to not spend my time up here and actually spend my time being present wherever I am.
And that's a good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's really hard. One of the things that somebody taught me this ages ago was to get you to laugh really, really hard. Like, that's just make yourself laugh, and just do it for like 30 to 60 seconds, and then immediately that you've stopped laughing, say out loud what the problem was that was making you so sad before, and do it without smiling. It's really hard not to. Because you've just been in this really happy, joyous place, so to suddenly come up with it and have to say out loud kind of the thing that was causing you problems and immediately stop smiling, it is really hard. What it does is it changes the energy in how you look at that problem, and all of a sudden you can start to see it as being less of an overwhelming problem than it had been prior to doing that.
That's a great point. One of our team members, Red O'Loughlin, I don't know if you know him or not, but he does a whole series on longevity and mental health and a lot of different subjects. And he talks about, just, laugh out loud. And just by doing that, there's a lightness. So I think that is a great solution for when we're feeling overwhelmed or we feel like we don't have enough time. And as you know, many times we go to bed feeling like we don't even have the time to go to sleep because we have so much do. We're so busy, and that's impacting our health in a negative way. So you have extensive experience in leading people, in coaching people. When people they're coming to you and you're working with them and they have this sense of burnout, this sense of overwhelm, what are some things that people can do to get in control of their life so they have more time?
It's a great question. I think some of it is really working out. So one of the first things I get people to do is kind of work on what are the things that currently you have to get done, that have to be you. And I get them to go through a do, delegate, and dump list. So what are the things you absolutely have to do because you're the only person that can do them? What are the things that you could delegate, even if you can't delegate them today because there's nobody to delegate them to? Which ones could you delegate in the future if someone was able to do them? And which ones should you dump because actually they add no value to you or to anybody else? Because in every day, I guarantee there are things that if you looked back at it and went, why did I do that? You've done it out of habit. You've done it because you've always done it, not because it's still required today. And it's the one thing that we never look to do. We never look at what we're going to stop. And that's part of our overwhelm. We're always looking at what we're going to add in. And yet we're already, as we've said a lot today, we're already busy. We've already got days that we're filling. We're not sat there going, I wonder what to do for the next 2 hours. We've filled them because that's what we like to do as human beings, is we fill the time that's available to us. But I read in, it was Stephen Bartlett's book, Sexy Happy Millionaire. And he talked about the fact that the one thing that all of us only have a finite amount of, we can never get more of, we can't invest and make it grow. The one thing that is finite is time, and we don't know how much of it we've got. And one of the things that he does is he's got a sand timer. So I have one here, and every now and again, mine that happens to last for an hour. Every now and again, he turns that sand timer so that he's really conscious of, I'm never going to get this hour back. Whatever I do, I can't regain this hour. So I'm going to be really conscious in this hour to ensure that what I'm doing is actually going to be important in 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years. Because it's really going to help me to define whether or not it really needs me to do it, or whether or not I'm just doing it because I've got used to it. And I think asking ourselves some of those questions, is it going to be, if I do this now, is it going to be important to me next week? Is it going to add that much value? And if it doesn't, question whether or not you can use your time differently.
Kim Adele, I absolutely love that. I'm so glad that you showed that what's it called? No.
Oh, I don't know what they call. I think it's an hourglass. But
Hourglass.
Yeah, but it's a sand one, and it really. I mean, I've since reading the book, I went and got one, clearly, because it's on my desk, and I do it at least once or twice a day. When I find myself getting into that place where I'm starting to tell myself I'm busy and I'm overwhelmed, is I go, that's the time I need to slow it down. I need to be more conscious. I need to make better choices for myself. So one of the things I do to help my mental health and well-being, which works for me, and hopefully it works for some other people, it won't work for everybody, is I will just turn that over and be really mindfully conscious of what I'm doing in that hour. And it's amazing how many things I've actually achieved that I would never have achieved before, because I've actually really focused on the things that are important. And also those things that I previously had been running around being busy doing and didn't get done, but realized nobody cared, didn't have an impact. And I guess for me, I'll share, I went into one I've done this in lots of organizations, but I went into one organization, and I went to see the MI team, who were very overwhelmed. They were really struggling with the amount of, MI is an Englishism, which doesn't always translate. It's the reporting team, the people that are giving you the reports to let you know what's going on, to give you the numbers. And they were very overwhelmed, and they were very frustrated. They got a really low morale. And I asked them, tell me a bit more about your job. And they were creating over 1,000 reports every month. Now, this was a relatively, it was a big organisation from its turnover. It was like £200 million, but from its employees, from the number of people, we were talking 200 people, and we'd got 1,000 reports. It's like 5 reports per person. What can we possibly need that's that many? And so I asked them to continue to produce them for a month, but not send them out. So to keep them, so if anybody asks for them, they would be available and they could send them out, but not to send out any but these 10 that I suggested still needed to go, that the board would need. I said, if in 2 months nobody's asked you for them, stop doing them. We ended up, just by doing that exercise, in reducing the number of reports that they were producing from 1,000 to 50. And we improved our regulatory responses. We had better overall control, and we freed up so much time and overwhelm that those people were able to go and identify things that we could do that would really improve the organization and take us to that next level. So I think sometimes in taking those steps and slowing down to say, why am I doing this, and what value does it add, and will it be important, is a really useful way of freeing up some time and creating some space to reduce that overwhelm.
Excellent examples. Thank you so much. I want to go back to when you were talking about do, delegate, dump. And I happened to notice, and it was just the timing was perfect, that when you were talking about delegate, Pudding started barking. And what made me think, what came to mind was that when we delegate, sometimes other people are not happy about it. And now we're in a time zap that we have to go through the whole delegation process. So that can become overwhelming. And people might say, you know what, I'm not doing that again. I'm just going to do it myself like I always do. I don't have to deal with him or her. How do we get out of that type of pattern?
I see that all the time with lots of organizations, is people are stuck because they won't delegate the thing, because they'll go, well, they'll never do it the way I want it to be done. Well, that's never going to happen unless you teach them how to do it. But you're not giving them a chance to learn and grow, and you're stunting the business because you're wasting your time doing things that aren't the best use of your time. So I think some of it is learning how to delegate well. It's making sure we delegate, we don't abdicate. So I see that often where we go, I gave it to, if you gave somebody something to do, if you truly delegated it to them, you check that they know what it is you want them to do, that they have the skills to be able to do it, that they know to come to you if they get stuck at any point along the way, and that you're there with them on that journey. What often happens is we tell somebody what to do, we don't check they know how to do it, we don't check they have the skills, we tell them we expect them to bring it back, and don't talk to us until then, and then we get surprised when they bring it back and it's not what we expected, because we abdicated, we didn't delegate. So I think for me, a large part of it is learning the art of delegation properly. And one of the tricks that I share with kind of clients and friends is, when you're doing something yourself the way you want it to be done, jump on something like Zoom or whatever you use where you can record yourself and your screen, and record yourself and talk yourself through how you're doing what you do every day. And then that becomes a perfect training video to give to the person that you're going to delegate. Because one of the things that we have is assumed knowledge. If you ever ask somebody to take you through their step-by-step process of doing something, I guarantee they'll miss a step, because it is so natural to them that happens, that it's no longer conscious to them that that's the step that they take. Whereas when you do it on the video and you literally record yourself doing what you're doing, you pick up all the steps, the ones that you've done consciously and the ones you've done subconsciously. And that will really optimize your delegation skills.
I have such a smile on my face listening to what you have to say. It's so true. And just for me, in the almost 2 years that we've been doing USA Global TV and radio, I was obsessed with doing everything myself, because nobody was going to be able to do it the way I do. And if they messed it up, then this was going to happen. And now we've got a whole team of people in search engine optimization, social media, producers. I don't have to produce every show anymore if I don't want to. I get to make the choice of what it is I want to do. And it's so liberating. And it's also good because, as someone who wants to continue to grow our team, people have autonomy, and they realize that it's not just one person. Like, what would happen if I just decided, hey, I'm not doing this anymore? The whole thing can stand on its own. So if I didn't change my mindset, and by the way, there were a lot of failures and key learnings during that process, that you have to have checks and balances. You've got to have things in place to make sure that everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if somebody has to take time off, what are you going to do then? Who's going to step in? But I think it's a growth opportunity. Also, as an entrepreneur, it's a cause for celebration.
It is. And it's hard when we delegate stuff, for a number of reasons. One of them is, somewhere in our psyche, we are using that to justify the value we bring. So while we're doing everything ourselves, we're adding value, and we can tell ourselves that. Whereas if I kind of pass all this on to other people, and you see this as leaders, as they're going up the ladder, well, if I get all my team to do this, then I'm going to become irrelevant because they can all do it. And I was given some great advice very early on, which is, your job, whatever job you've got, the minute you're leading people, your job is to make yourself completely and utterly dispensable through competence, not incompetence, because we can all become dispensable through incompetence. And what they said by that was, if your role is to pass on your knowledge and to help other people really hone their skill, so that actually, if you were not there tomorrow, it would still run. To your point, Dr. Declan, it would still go. You get to choose the things that you want to do. And the reason why that's your job is because then what you're doing is you're demonstrating that you are filling any gap, the organization, you're mitigating any risk. You're making sure that if you win the lottery tomorrow, the business has no risk because it will continue, it will run, it will thrive without you. But you're also demonstrating your ability to do the next level, because what you're doing is you're managing people who are now able to operate at the level that you're operating at. So you have now elevated yourself to the next level and use it as a kind of almost a living interview process. But it's a great way of thinking about how we do anything in business. Is if actually one of the number one things that I talk to clients about is, what's your exit plan? And too many of them go, I don't have one. It's like, you have to have one, because we're not immortal. So the one thing that is true is at some point we aren't going to be here. And did you spend all of this time building your business, creating this dream for it to end when you end? Because unless you think about how are you going to delegate now, how are you going to make the business work without you in it, it will no longer work when you're not here. And that's not the legacy you're trying to achieve. And that for me often is the kind of changer for people when they realize, oh yeah, I don't want to be doing it when I'm 90, but I do want it to survive. I want it to pass it on to my family. I want to pass it on to the employees. I want to float it. I want to be bought out. It doesn't matter what the exit is. But if you start with that in mind, then you'll find yourself creating the right processes, the right systems, the right infrastructure to ensure that your business is successful with or without you.
And that's part of your legacy.
Absolutely. Because our business, like our children, is our legacy. We devote so much time and love and attention to them, and so much blood, sweat, and tears to both of those as a mother and as a business owner. You put your heart and soul into it, and you want that to be worth something. We want that to mean something when we're not here. Because if not, what are we doing it for?
Very true. And Kim Adele, you already are a best-selling author. Excuse me, you have 6 books or 7. How many books do you have now?
I've just finished my 7th.
7th. Is it out?
It is, but that one's through a publisher called Book Boom, so it's available through them as opposed to in general in stores and things, because I write a couple for them as well.
Okay, fantastic. So you've got that going on. You already did your TEDx speech. What else do you have on your plate that people can learn about, or maybe people can get involved with?
Oh, so many things. So I'm actually writing my next book, which is about how you run companies to have optimum success and guaranteed results. And within that, how you mitigate risk and how you optimize return on investment. So particularly in the private equity space. So I'm really looking for people who've got experience in that want to come along, be involved, share their stories and their learnings, so that collectively we can all grow. You can also get in touch around being on my show or being on this show with us, and also helping organizations that are wanting to get to that next level. So I usually work with kind of high-end organizations that are getting ready for the next investment, the next resale of what they're doing. So if you're looking for somebody to help you drive that operational piece as well, get in touch. I'd love to help.
And Kim Adele, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? And if they'd like to be on this show or on Authentic Achievements, maybe they're interested in doing a book collaboration, maybe they want you to train them on how to be a TEDx speaker, any of these things, what's the best way for people to contact you?
Oh, there's so many ways. So probably the best way is just to email me. So you can get me at kimadele@authenticachievements.com. You can check out what we're doing at authenticachievements.com, and I'm on social media either as Kim Adele Randall or Kim Adele 10. So I'm dead easy to find. If you Google Kim Adele Randall, you can't fail to miss me. So please do get in touch. Just reach out. I'm always up for hearing other people's stories and seeing how I can help them achieve their authentic achievement.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. And we look forward to having you back as the sun is shining on your face.
I love it. It's like, I need to sit up, don't I? Because the sun
is part of your face.
Oh, you've got some of it. We've had a big cloud that's just gone over, and I've noticed it's very shiny here as well.
Shiny's good though. Shiny's a sign of youth, by the way.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Then I'm shiny and I'm happy. I feel like the crab in Moana.
No, when you have that glow, that's a sign of youth. So if not, if you're my age, you can just throw a bucket of water in your head and you'll have some glow there. So well, Kim Adele, I'm super excited about this episode, and I'm going to get one of those hourglasses. I think that is a great way, a visual reminder about how important time is.
Honestly, it's been a game changer for me. I've really loved it, and it's really helping me. So I hope if anybody does do it, let me know how it works for you. Let me know if it does work, because it's really helped me. And just be more conscious. I think that's one of the things is I didn't realize how much of my time I was doing without being really conscious and present in what I was doing. And once I started to do that, I was able to get rid of loads of things that I was doing that actually, once I was consciously doing them rather than doing them out of habit, I was like, I don't need to do this. It adds no value to anybody, so I can stop.
Let the sun shine in. I'll be one of the first people who reaches out to you to let you know how it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay cool and enjoy your weekend.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone, whether you're watching or listening on the live or the replay. We really do appreciate you being here. We've added in some new team members and some new shows. If you'd like to be a guest, please go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, book your session. Maybe you already have a podcast that you're doing somewhere. If you'd like to have us distribute it for you, let's have a conversation about that. Let's help you get as many people as possible familiar with the work that you are doing. So before we leave, we're going to hear from a few of our dear team members and sponsors. We thank you for being here. Our next show up is The Power of Etiquette and Manners. So please stay tuned for that. And remember, you have value, you are worthwhile, and you have a story to share. And we'd love to help you do that. Bye, everyone.
USA Global TV and Radio, in partnership with Dr. Jacqueline LLC, present Amazon #1 best-selling author, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is a certified life, career, and executive coach who teaches people how to listen at an elevated level through her courses and her books. Dr. Kerbeck teaches her clients how to open their hearts and express themselves through their creative genius. In her children's book series, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, The Listening Mentor, Dr. Kerbeck teaches children and their families how to listen at an elevated level. Dr. Kerbeck has worked with clients across the world to guide them in how to express themselves and communicate at a highly effective level. Join our team of elevated listeners so you can listen without judgment, without providing a solution, without interruption, and without stealing the stage. To order your books today, go to drjacqueline.com or Amazon.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at dianefloydboehm.com. Visit DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com. That's DianeFloydBaim.com.
Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. My name is Roland Friedl, and maybe as you can recognize from my accent, I'm Austrian, so it's a small country in the middle of Europe, in the heart of Europe. And yeah, I'm 59 years old. I'm a father and a grandfather. And from my business background, after my very short but very successful corporate career, I was the youngest member of board of director in a huge business, in a huge company. I started my own businesses in different areas, in different industries, and I got a lot of experience, what is working, what is not working. And about 2.5 decades ago, I started a training, coaching, consulting company, Spartan Performance Systems, where I did and still do train and consult international huge businesses worldwide like Xerox and other big players in the world. So we do a lot of sales trainings and management trainings with my team in different languages. That's my main background in business. Besides that, I'm very engaged in men's work and also in the environment. That's my background, make it shortly. So to be honest, I'm very curious about what's going on in the world. I love to learn. I love to travel. So my huge passion is traveling. Right now, as you can see the background, I'm sitting in my motorhome. So after 14 years living on a beautiful island, I decided to move into my motorhome and travel to Europe and live and work from my motorhome. So, and I got engaged to USA Global TV and Radio actually a year and around 9-10 months ago. A very good friend of mine, he contacted me and asked me if he can invite me for an interview on USA Global TV and Radio. I guess the show was called The Journey of My Life. And to be honest, in the beginning, I said no, because I had very bad experience on interviews in my business careers. I did it twice for a TV channel in Austria. And then they cut it and edited it. And at the end, my comment was totally different than to the reality I said. So I said in the beginning, no, but I trusted this guy. So they said, okay, let's do it. He told me I don't have to fly to the US. I can do it from my home. That was, at the time, this was his island in Mallorca. So, and it was an amazing, and a beautiful conversation. And then Dr. Jacqueline contacted me and asked me if I'm interested in becoming a co-moderator of a show. And so we started the Mallorca Connection, which is a weekly show on Monday, the Mallorca Connection. I got more and more involved. I became an elevated listener because I strongly believe it's important to listen first before you talk. And I had the chance to host and moderate and design my own shows like the Earth Show in the past, the Men shows. I became a talking head, an expert on business topics. So I hosted, moderated, I guess about more than 100, maybe 200, I don't know, idea, shows on USA Global TV and Radio, and I still do. And finally, we started the It's Your Healthy Lifestyle, a very good show, and we bring a new one on about the planet Earth. Yeah, that's a little bit what I'm doing here on USA Global TV and Radio. So why I'm doing this? First of all, I really love new medias. I love the platform. I love the work that this Dr. Jacqueline is doing to educate people. It's all about sharing, caring, and connecting and networking. And the benefit I got out of this in my personal experience, I learned a lot about myself, to be honest. I learned a lot about my strengths in moderating, in hosting, in talking live in front of a video camera. I learned a lot of myself, where my strengths, where my weak points that I have to improve. I met a lot of new interesting people. Some of them became friends of mine. Actually, after all, it's a hell of work, to be sure. Yes, it is, to be prepared, to invite people for the shows, to find new topics, to do research on the facts. But I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the industry, the media industry. I learned a lot about broadcasting, videos, interviewing. And as I said, I met interesting people, a lot of interesting people, and also made new friends where I'm very happy for that. So yeah, USA Global TV and Radio, it's the platform to connect. It's about sharing and caring. And for me, USA Global TV and Radio is a huge family, and I'm very thankful and grateful for this experience. And yeah, and I guess the best is yet to come. Thanks a lot from Roland. from Austria. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.